Welcome back into Foolish Club Media. I am Steven Serda. It's week 9 across the NFL, and I'm having my worst NFL Sunday of the season, Rocky. It's not just fantasy football teams and injuries across the league. It was just generally a rough Sunday, I feel like, unless you were on the winning side of some of these games. But the Kansas City Chiefs fall to 5-4 with a 28-21 loss in Buffalo on Sunday. And Rocky, obviously, we've got a lot to talk about in this game. The Chiefs made it interesting at the end. They had an opportunity, but Mahomes, with just pressure that was in his face all day long, and the Chiefs' offensive line comes out of this one even more banged up than they already were. Just the Bills' defensive game plan was tremendous against the Chiefs, and they got their asses kicked basically the entire game in this one. And then towards the end of the game, late in the fourth quarter, the Chiefs have a chance to go on a drive, and Mahomes, with Bosa in his face, which was constant all day long, just unloads one to get rid of the football. It gets intercepted, and then, the Chiefs had a chance here at the end, but it was like 22 seconds. And so essentially, like, the Bills win this one 28-21, and they do it pretty comfortably despite the Chiefs doing their best efforts to try to make it interesting at the end. Like, the Bills just had a better game plan than the Chiefs today, and they were better in every way, in every phase of the football game today.
Yeah, you said it. The Chiefs just got their asses kicked. There were stretches of this game for Kansas City that it felt like I was getting dental work done with no Novocaine. Like, it was just painful to watch. Like, Drew Tranquil, they were targeting Drew Tranquil with the tight ends early in the game. Like, they saw something on tape that they thought they could exploit with Drew Tranquil and the tight ends because he was just getting smoked out there. They didn't show up in the run game early on. They were like, James Cook, hats off. He's a hell of a running back, but they were just, they played other great running backs too and not got gashed like that, right? Like, the Bills just had their number today from beginning to end. And the Chiefs didn't. There were high leverage moments where the Chiefs did answer, but there was too many of them where the Chiefs didn't answer. And you talked about the offensive line being banged up even more. Yeah, the offensive line is in shambles right now at this point, like, because we don't know when we're going to get Josh Simmons back. And Pat didn't trust his protection for half of the game. And here's the thing is, in the moments when Pat didn't trust his protection, he should have. And in the moments where he shouldn't have, he did. It was like Pat was out of sorts for chunks of this game. It was like it was such an uneven performance by Kansas City.
I think that's my main takeaway from this game, really. And it's that, the Chiefs have been getting by with the offensive line. Now Trey Smith is banged up, even though he manages to play today. Jawan Taylor leaves this game, and Wanya Morris has to come back in. Kingsley leaves the game for a few minutes. Mike Caliendo has to come back in, but Kingsley's able to return. But it was just frustrating. And the Bills, without Ed Oliver, Rocky, were just putting pressure on them all day long. Now, I think this was like the best game of Joey Bosa's season, and he was just an absolute monster. And some of this maybe, goes back to his Chargers days, and this is like a revenge game of sorts after he played for the Chargers forever. And arguably this Bills team is maybe the best team that he's ever been on in his NFL career. And he just straight up dominated. And we've seen Jalen Moore be really, really good and really serviceable for the Chiefs. But Joey Bosa was just a menace today. And it didn't matter where the Bills put him along the defensive line. The Chiefs didn't have an answer for Joey Bosa, no matter who he was going against today. Like, they just got dominated up front on both sides of the ball. And then even when this is always the problem with the Bills offense, is that, like, they want to get to third and short. They're happy having these long drawn out drives because that's the type of offense that they are now. And Josh Allen's honestly a better player when they play like that, because he is perfectly okay dragging out these drives, but they want to get to third and short. And then you have to force them to third and long to get them off the field. And the Chiefs defense simply could not do that today. The couple of times that they did it was when they actually forced the Bills to punt, but the Bills were basically having their way on the offensive side of the ball. And this game was just totally won in the trenches on both sides, and especially with the defensive line that is missing arguably its best defensive player. They just dominated the Chiefs' offensive line today, and Mahomes was under pressure in a way that I don't think we've seen him under pressure like all this season. Like, I still think the Chiefs offensive line is going to get better. And now, thankfully, they have a bye and they've got some time to try to get healthy and maybe figure out what's going on with Josh Simmons and get him back in the building so he's ready to go for the back half of the season. But this was like a low point this season for the Chiefs offensive line, because credit to the Bills, their game plan was just, we think we can overpower these guys and we think we can get after him. And they did it all day long. And then they also were timing up some great blitzes and really giving Mahomes a lot of pressure looks. And he was under pressure all 4 quarters today.
He was under pressure from all 4 quarters. And it was like, man, like, and part of it's on Andy Reid, right? Like that Joey Bosa was just able to like tee off, because like it was like halfway through the 4th quarter and Andy Reid ran the ball twice in the second half. Like, he comes out the field saying we have to run the ball better, and he comes out in the second half and doesn't run the ball at all, right? And maybe that's because, yeah, okay, you're without Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt is struggling because to block, but you got to do something. But you got to do something in this game in order to like keep the pass rush, honest on the other side of the football. And all the Brashard Smith truthers out there, this was a bad day for Brashard Smith truthers because he gave you little to nothing.
I could have done without the Clyde carries.
I could have done without the Clyde carries too. But like this is what we were talking about, though. The Chiefs never had enough in the backfield, right? We've been saying this. They're just not deep enough in the backfield that they can't weather any kind of injury like that, because Kareem Hunt doesn't have the juice to be a primary back anymore.
So it was reported ahead of the game that as Brian asked why CEH over Elijah, and it was reported before the game that it was strictly a pass blocking thing. And it's, I mean, as if we didn't know this already, but that Elijah Mitchell deal this offseason was just a total sunk cost for the Kansas City Chiefs, because if he can't get active for this game with Isaiah Pacheco out, then he's just simply never going to be active for the Kansas City Chiefs this season. And it's even more frustrating when you see a player like Rico Dowdle just go off again today for the Carolina Panthers against one of the best run defenses in the NFL in the Green Bay Packers. And the Chiefs signed Elijah Mitchell to a more expensive contract than what the Panthers signed Rico Dowdle to. And they've just gotten absolutely nothing from him as a player. But I do think there was something to like, it's frustrating because I think like the offensive game plan for the Chiefs coming into this was clearly, we got to score points, and we think we're that offense again. And we think we can go put up and score points toe to toe with anybody in the league, but they weren't prepared for the Bills defensive line to dominate them that way. I think the Bills secondary is super questionable, but they played maybe their best game of the season today. And I think some of that also goes back to this idea that we talked about leading up to this game, is that like, we know these regular season matchups between the Chiefs and the Bills, like the Bills put everything out there. And I do think that the Chiefs sometimes get caught in this vanilla game plan in these massive games against AFC powerhouse teams, because they don't want to tip their hand too much ahead of the playoffs, because they know that they're going to play the Buffalo Bills. And I'm not saying at 5-4 that this Chiefs team is like in danger of missing the playoffs. I still think that we can go on a run here after the bye week. They're going to assess some things, hopefully get healthy. And I still think that everything's wide out in front of them. But if you win this game, Rocky, especially with the Colts losing the way that they did to Pittsburgh today, and a game that they easily, like this Colts team, the way they've been putting up points this season, like you shouldn't lose that way to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And it makes me think like, oh, maybe Rocky was on to something, not buying into this Colts team just yet. But if the Chiefs go up to Buffalo and win this game, then the AFC is wide open, even though the Chiefs are like, the 7 seed or whatever heading into Sunday. But now you're 5-4. Now the division is still a coin toss, and you have to basically like run the table and dominate down the stretch here to make sure you just win the AFC West after this loss. And it's going to get tougher, even though the schedule opens up on the back half, because you still have some tough games ahead of you. And so it was just disappointing from the fact that, like, I know the Chiefs are banged up right now. I expect more from them. But overall, it was just a disappointing game plan, because it felt like it was just, hey, Pat, go out there and make some magic happen today. And it didn't feel like he was getting a ton of help throughout this process, because the Chiefs were not ready for the kind of pressure that Buffalo was putting on them. And honestly, Rocky, I felt like this game reminded me of the week 1 game against the Chargers, where it just felt like they came into this thing and just weren't fully prepared for a lot of the things that they were seeing on both sides of the ball. And they just got outplayed by a team that I think they can go toe to toe with. But it seemed like the Bills were simply the better football team in every way today. And that's how that Chargers game was in week 1. Like, the Chargers just straight up outplayed them in every phase of the game. And that's a little concerning, because we're at week 9. We knew the consequences of losing this game. We knew how important this game was for the Chiefs to go make a statement, and for them to get dominated like that against what I still believe is like a soft Bills team that can be beat. Like, the Bills played that was the best defensive performance the Buffalo Bills had put on tape all season long. And I know you step up in big games, but it felt like the Bills stepped up in a way that the Chiefs simply didn't today.
No, and at the end of the first half, the Bills showed you exactly who they are, that they are susceptible to giving up these big chunk plays if you go out there and you execute, right? Like, it's like the Chiefs had an opportunity to steal a touchdown at the end of the half, and they failed to do so, right? They squandered the time. They called running plays from shotgun on the 1 yard line. Again, Andy, I thank you for getting rid of that.
Creative looks that we've seen since they put Rice back in. I know they did that early, but then it was before the half. It was like Andy reverts to this safe play calling after being hyper aggressive. And then the Chiefs convert like a 4th and 17 later in the game. And so, yes, you love seeing them be that aggressive, but they had to get a touchdown before that.
Yeah.
I'm still pissed about that field goal because you could tell every Bills fan in the world was like, yes, that is a win for Buffalo.
Yeah, 100%.
Settling for that 3 points is a win. And then what do the Chiefs do? They come out of the break and go 3 and out. Like, that's catastrophic failure. You cannot settle for 3 right there. You got to go get that 7 and then come out of the break swinging. And the Chiefs didn't. And it only got interesting because of a few flash plays from Mahomes in the second half.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. Is like, you score a touchdown there at the end of the first half, and you break the back of the defense going into the half, and it's a whole different feel, a whole different game, and you come out swinging, like you said, in the second half. And to Brian's point, this is what I was going to get to, the Chiefs, like, they even win the West at this point, right? They have to sweep Denver to catch them, basically, at this point, because they're 2 games behind Denver, right? There's like it's not that they're just like if they win this game, they stay just 1 game behind Denver, but now they're 2 games out from Denver, right?
And Denver to Chargers at 6-3, though the Chargers, it looks like they just lost Joe Alt again for what might be another significant amount of time. And it's not as if the Broncos played well today. Like, that was an ugly, ugly game for them. But the Broncos, especially the last couple of years, have given the Chiefs a ton of problems. And so that's going to be a tough matchup. And the Chiefs have so much ground to make up now. Like, it doesn't feel where it's like coming out of this game, if you pull this off, you go up to Buffalo, get this win, it feels like it's only a matter of time. And now instead it's the opposite. It's like the AFC 1 seed's probably off the table. Now it's just a matter of, can you go win the division and not wind up being a wild card team and playing all of your postseason games on the road?
Well, seriously, if you want to win the West, I think you need 12 wins at this point, the way that these other teams are playing, right? Because you're currently in 3rd place, right? You need 12 wins. That means you're going 7-1 the rest of the way, Kansas City, if you want to win the West, right? Like, your margin of error is this big at this point if you want to win the West. Now, obviously, getting a wild card spot is a whole lot easier than winning your division. And if you're not going to get the 1 seed, you're going to be going on the road. That sucks. But the Chiefs in January can beat anybody. So you're not going to say like they're out of it. Like, they just need a ticket to the dance. But like, if you lose this streak of consecutive AFC West titles like this season, it's going to be 100% because you shot yourself in the foot. Like, you have enough talent on this team that you should have won tonight. You should have won every single game that you stepped on the field this season. But Andy Reid tonight, let's just call it like it was. We'll say the Chiefs got outplayed. The Chiefs got outcoached. Like McDermott's game plan and Joe Brady, right? That's her OC. Is they had the Chiefs number from the jump today. And there's literally the Chiefs like made it closer than this game actually was.
Yeah.
Like,
So
and it sucks, but the Chiefs got to get their act together.
it's I really want to get into the defense, but like before we turn to that side of the ball, because I think this is one of the most disappointing games that they've played all season. But just before we move off the offense, like going into the second half, I know Kareem Hunt doesn't provide a lot of juice, but Kareem Hunt did have some nice moments in the first half, and it felt like the Bills' rush defense has been bad all season, and I know we don't expect the Chiefs to like lean heavy on the run, but like we have seen them have some success when they actually try to run the football and then help that to set up the deep shots to Tyquan Thornton. We saw Hollywood Brown get in the mix a little bit today. Xavier Worthy, like I need more from him as a player, man. Like I was willing to give him the benefit of the doubt that like he is banged up and it's been a rough season for him, but he's still like shown the flashes, and I still think he could be a special player. But like there's multiple times today where it's like, hey man, you got to come back to that football and be physical. You got to fight harder for that ball, or you're not tracking the ball very well. And that's what's leading to some of these breakups, because you're simply not going and getting it. And that's been a theme with him. And I wonder if it is like the shoulder injury, like, you know, something that he's dealing with the rest of the season and something that he's shying away from because he doesn't want to take big hits. Like, I understand that, but they got to figure that out because they need more from Worthy. Like, I think he is a better player than what we have seen from him. And he struggled today. You know, Rice still winds up getting home and having a big game, and he has the massive 4th and 17. He leads the way for the Chiefs. Hollywood winds up 2 for 73 because he has a couple of big catches, but Worthy just 2 receptions for 5 yards today. Like, and it was frustrating because there were some plays there for Worthy, but he just didn't have it today and didn't play particularly well. And then I think some of that is just Andy Reid and this offensive staff like being stubborn. And it felt like if you come out of the half, like lean into the run a little bit more, like I think you could have gotten a little bit more from it. But the Bills were just, hey, we're not scared of your run game at all. It's there if you want to try to go for it, but we are playing the pass. We are not going to let you create the big plays. And when Mahomes was creating the big plays, it was because he was just buying a lot of time and waiting until somebody broke free, and then he would hit them downfield. Like, so there were some big plays on the field today, but the Bills had a great game plan against this Chiefs offense. And then it just didn't feel like the Chiefs adjusted much coming out of half, which is really frustrating because even after you settle for that frustrating field goal, it's like, if you just come out and put your foot on the gas and find a way to get a score coming out of the break, then this game could turn out totally different. Instead, it's just punt right out of halftime, next possession, punt again. And then all of a sudden you're down by 2 scores and you're playing from behind the rest of the way. And the Bills are just sending everybody at Mahomes to hit him as much as possible and put as much pressure on him the rest of the way. And he was struggling today. Like, it was just a frustrating offensive performance from the Kansas City Chiefs, because I know we've seen how special they can be when they put it all together with the game plan and then Mahomes playing and everybody firing on all cylinders. It just didn't feel like this was their best stuff today, and it didn't feel like they were doing enough adjusting as the game went on against the Bills.
Well, yeah, and I think with one thing we know about Mahomes is once his line starts to deteriorate and his protection starts to deteriorate, he starts the timer in his head starts getting faster and faster and faster, and he starts making mistakes. He starts rushing throws. He starts short arming things, and then eventually he gets frustrated and tries to force something stupid, right? And we saw that. Like okay, yeah, it was good enough, as good as a punt that throw to Worthy, but like he was like that was a frustration throw, right? Like trying to force that into Worthy. And yeah, Worthy has to come back. Like Tyquan Thornton made a better play on that Hail Mary at the end of the game than Xavier Worthy did on any contested catch today. Worthy has to play stronger at the catch point. Like, I know he's a small guy.
He can do that. He's got a lot of athleticism, though. We've seen him win that way.
Well, and then the size isn't an excuse, because Devonta Smith is just like the exact same size as him. And Devonta Smith is extremely strong at the catch point, right? Like you have the ability, you have the athleticism. It's just like an attitude of going up there and fighting for the ball that he just didn't have today. And the Chiefs decided that they were going to force the ball to him in a lot of situations. And yeah, Andy should take full responsibility for today because he didn't play well. And the Chiefs, it's weird that the Chiefs are struggling, like our boy Ron is saying, with close games this year, but they're literally like they can't pull out a close game. Like they're either blowing teams out or they're losing the close ones, which going back to the beginning of Mahomes' career, that's not been like anything that's ever happened before. Mahomes has always been the guy that wins it at the end. But I think that there's just so many situations where he's being put in bad situations, and bad like tonight, like he had 30 seconds. Like sure, he did the 13 seconds a few years back when Kelsey was in his prime, but like you give him 30 seconds to try to go and win the game, right? Like the defense has to get them off the field faster there. The defense cannot let them get 3 first downs on that final drive, right? And part of that's Chris Jones. Like Chris Jones, we'll talk about defense, but Chris Jones has to play better than he has been.
Well, I want to get into the defense because they did have some moments today. Like it wasn't just a total like wasted defensive performance, but like coming into this game, like Rocky, we talked about it. Like we know what the Bills want to do. And the Bills, this is how they played the last 2 straight seasons. Josh Allen, for the first time in his career, isn't trying to create these explosive plays all the time because that's not the personnel that they have on offense. I do think Joe Brady's a good play caller, and I think they have a good offensive system, but they are fine just going on these long, drawn-out drives. Their goal is not to beat you over the top for 60 yards. Their goal is we're going to get to 3rd and short, and on 3rd and short, there's nothing you can do to get us off the football field. And that's what they did all day long. Every time the Chiefs actually got them into 3rd and long, they punted. Every time it was 3rd and short, the Chiefs could not do anything to get them off the field. And it was frustrating. And the defense, like we saw the drive late in the game where like McDuffie comes up, makes an amazing play. Like Josh Allen's such a tough quarterback to bring down. And that's one of the things that makes him such a special player. Like, there's no individual in the NFL who's harder to sack than Josh Allen right now. And it's really frustrating when you go up against him. And so like McDuffie comes up, makes this huge play because he's a star and brings him down. And then Leo Chanel on the next play brings him down. And it's just a massive sequence for the defense. But there just wasn't enough of that. The Bills were winning the matchups that they wanted. And you mentioned Drew Tranquill. Like Drew Tranquill's been great this season for the Chiefs. But to their credit, they diagnosed it in their offensive game plan. We think we can win that matchup with our tight ends. Kincaid has a monster game in this one. Dawson Knox has a couple of monster plays in this game. Their tight ends were beating the Chiefs, and that was a matchup that they were dialing up over and over again throughout the game. James Cook's one of the best running backs in the NFL right now. He has another monster performance, and really it's the first running back who's had a monster game against the Kansas City Chiefs, which is even more frustrating because I do think their run defense is really good. And we've seen that, but we've also seen James Cook give them lots of problems in the past. Like he's a particular player who seems to give the Chiefs problems. And then on top of that, the secondary, like they don't have a lot of wide receivers that can straight up win one-on-one, but something else that they diagnosed was like, hey, there's certain corners with the Chiefs that we're going to go after, and it's not going to be Trent McDuffie. When Noel Williams is on the field, we're going at him. And that's not, and I'm not, putting Noel Williams down because I think he's been a great player for the Chiefs so far his rookie season. But this is what good teams do in big matchups. Oh, they got a rookie corner out there. I'm going at him. That's what good quarterbacks do. How many times do we see Peyton Manning do stuff like that? And then Jalen Watson, at times this season has been great. And then at times this season, he's been up and down. He had some rough moments today too. Like overall, like, yes, the Buffalo Bills are a good team. They had an amazing game plan. Josh Allen is an incredible player, but I just expected a lot more from this defense based off of what we've seen from them this season. I know the pass rush is still going to be a problem, but this secondary is a lot more talented than the way that they played today. This linebacker room is a lot more talented than the way that they played today. And it felt like all of the ways the Bills were winning was 100% their game plan and everything that they diagnosed in this matchup. And that's on the Chiefs to identify that kind of stuff. And that's on Steve Spagnuolo and his coaches to figure out how to slow that offense down, because it just didn't feel like they had many answers throughout the entire contest today.
Well, yeah, and you heard him say it on the broadcast that Joe Brady's like, we have to stay on schedule in order for our offense to work, right? Like you said, they get them to third down. Like anytime they stop them on first down, they end up punting, right? So the Chiefs have to know that going into here that they're going to run the ball on first down almost every single time, and they are dependent up. They want to get 4+ yards on every first down so that they can get to third and short. We have to stop them on first down. Like I know it's said in the past, like you have to earn the right to rush the passer, right? It's true, right? But the Chiefs did not win first down enough in this football game. And then when it comes to the pass rush, they just don't have enough pass rushers. And if you're going to have a good quarterback like Josh Allen, who can see the field, has a quick release, can buy time, can get the ball out of his hand, can pick you apart in the quick passing game like they did, then you got to get to him fast and hit him fast. And we've said how many times this year, the Chiefs don't win fast at the line of scrimmage. The game, the plays where they did win fast at the line of scrimmage, they sacked Josh Allen in this game. But how many plays was it where they couldn't get to him without blitzing? And we see that over and over and over again, that the Chiefs just don't win. And I mean, like I can't sit here and just say like, oh, like Brett Veach isn't going to go out and make a splash at the trade deadline. But it's like, if you're going to make a splash at the trade deadline for anything, like this was a highlight of everything we've said this team needs: more pass rushers and a better running back. Like this is why right here, because when you go into a team that wants to control the clock, control the ball, you can't meet them and play them at that same game. So if they take away your explosive plays and make you inconsistent, then you have nothing to answer. You have no answer for it whatsoever.
Yeah. And the trade deadline's Tuesday at 3 p.m., I believe. So we'll see if the Chiefs make any moves. Thankfully, they're heading into a bye week, and it feels like it couldn't come at a better time. With the offensive line banged up, it would be really nice if they get this Josh Simmons situation figured out over the bye and get him back for the second half of the season. Like, things could be a lot worse. Like, they're 5-4. I still think when everything's working, they're one of the best teams in the NFL, one of the most explosive and dangerous offenses. And, we could be talking about this thing 9-10 weeks from now, Rocky, and we could be like, oh, Mahomes ran away with MVP in the back half of the season, and the Chiefs dominated and went undefeated to easily make it into the playoffs and win the AFC West once again. But they got a lot of work to do all of that and to accomplish all of that. I still don't think the season's over. I don't think anything is down for the count. I think the AFC West is totally wide open. But yeah, there's got to be they got to show they can win some of these close games, man, because I know they were living way too close to the edge last season, and nobody can do that. But this has become a problem again this season. It's all of their losses are these kinds of games. And it's even more frustrating when you see like that loss to the Jacksonville Jaguars is so frustrating. Like, Jacksonville, they wind up winning over the Raiders today, but they go to overtime and it's a 30-29 win. Like, the Raiders of all teams, like, take them down to the wire. And this is after Jacksonville just gets totally dominated 35-7 by the Rams last week. So it's like, it's just frustrating because the Chiefs are better than their 5-4 record. I think we all know they're better than their 5-4 record, but the reason they're 5-4 is 100% on them. It's not just on the competition and the teams that they have played. It's that the Chiefs have made the mistakes that we know they are capable of getting past, and we know that they are more talented than making those mistakes and costing themselves opportunities to win football games.
Oh, 100%. Like, it's always the same thing. It's like the Chiefs, one team the Chiefs can beat is themselves, and they beat themselves every time they lose, it's because they beat themselves. I would say, with the exception of today, I would say Buffalo. This is the first game this year where I think a team actually came out and legitimately punched the Chiefs in the mouth and beat them heads up, right? Like you could say, like, the Chiefs had their opportunities. every game comes down. I've said this so many times. Like every game comes down to like 5 or 6 like high leverage moments. And it's how you perform those high leverage moments are what are going to define the game, right? And win the game. 4th and 17 was one of those moments, and the Chiefs performed really well in it. But then coming out of the half, that was a high leverage moment. Scoring at the end of the half, that was a high leverage moment. The Chiefs, you can't go 1-4 or 1-for-5 on those high leverage moments in the game and then expect to win the game. Like, you have to hit on those moments. And that's what the Bills did. The Bills hit on those moments and they outperformed the Chiefs. And then speaking of the defense, I just want to say like we have to like the elephant in the room right now that nobody's really talking about that much is that Chris Jones has lost a step. He's not the same player he was 2 years ago or even last year. He's not winning at the same rate. He can't beat the double team like he used to. He's getting blown off the ball in the running game. He's an older player now. He's a little bit long in the tooth. He's not a bad player, but kind of like Travis Kelce last year. We didn't want to say, oh, Travis Kelce lost a step in 2024, and we kept on saying, oh, it's because they're double teaming him. Oh, because they're kind of all over him and all these sort of things. But it's like, unfortunately, Chris Jones isn't the same force that he was 3 years ago or 2 years ago even.
Well, and this is something we've been talking about for 3 years, Rocky. Like, I love Chris Jones. He's a future Hall of Fame player. But at some point, you had to figure out what was next. You had to hope that you could find out what the plan was for the pass rush long term, because how long could you just keep running it back where it was like, find these role players who can feed off of Chris because Chris is so dominant. And I still think when the Chiefs get into the playoffs, like, Chris Jones can still be that force in the postseason who can go out there and make it happen when you have to have it. But yeah, the decline was inevitable. I still think Chris is a special player, but he's aging. And this thing has just been built around him and only him for way too long. Like, I think George is having a nice season, and George Karlaftis is a good player. I don't even love like the criticism of George Karlaftis, because George Karlaftis is perfect for the Chiefs. Most teams would be thrilled to have a player like George Karlaftis, who is a cost-effective pass rusher, who is on a good team-friendly deal, who gives you a lot. He's just not a superstar, and that's not his fault. He hasn't ever been that, and I don't think I ever expected George to be a superstar. He's a really, really good player. But the Chiefs for too long have, and maybe they really would have had something in Omar Norman-Lott. We won't know, because he tore his ACL and he is done for the season. And he was still like even at that point, like, Ashton Gelati was playing more snaps than Omar Norman-Lott was. Like, he's a rotational player at best. And this is what happens when star players start to decline and you struggle to find answers. And that's why, like, the Rams did an incredible job of building for life after Aaron Donald, but they did it with like lots of draft picks and going after that position. And they totally rebuilt their defensive line within 2 years. And now they've got one of the best defensive lines in football. And that's after losing maybe the most dominant defensive lineman that we've ever seen in Aaron Donald. Like, the Chiefs have been struggling to figure out what the answer is for life after Chris Jones for a while. And this season, it feels like it's more apparent than it has been in years, which is why it's easy to be like, okay, maybe it's the start of the decline, because that's inevitably going to happen.
Well, yeah, and also it's apparent when you don't have a lot in the middle besides Chris Jones. Yeah, you drafted Omar Norman-Lott, then you immediately made him put on 20 pounds to take away his athleticism, and then you signed Jerry Tillery, right? And then you cut Mike Pennell, who you've now brought back. But it's like you never really invested like that much aside from Chris Jones up the middle. Like, you had some draft picks, but like, you didn't ever really go out and make it a priority to get like another stud to pair with him in the middle. You just said, we're going to use these hybrid guys, and we're going to cycle in Minihue and Dana and Karlaftis and all these other guys who are edge rushers into the middle to kind of be that second middle pass rusher. But then at the same time, you missed on your edge rushers a little bit, right? Like, FAU was a miss, and like Ashton Gelati might be a fine player, and you didn't invest a top draft pick in him, but he's definitely.
It's really, really hard to find mid-round guys, like who wind up turning into like Matthew Judon or something like that. Like those guys are like the odds of that of finding a guy like in like anywhere from rounds like 2 through 5 who wind up being like star pass rushers is got to be nearly as low as finding a quarterback in that range. Like it's very few and far between when you find a guy like that.
Well, and especially the back of rounds 2 through 5, right? We're not talking like you're picking at pick 33, right? And saying you found a pass rusher that slipped through the first round because of character concerns or something, right? We're saying like this is a guy where every other team had a shot at him for 3 rounds and then you took him, kind of thing, right? And so it stinks because like there's 2 things you can't have too much of in sports, right? Like what in baseball, you can't have too many pitchers, and in football, you can't have too many pass rushers. You can never have too many pass rushers. The Eagles are proof of that. Like they'll always go out and get another pass rusher because when you play an elite quarterback, the one thing that can knock him off of schedule and win you the football game is forcing him to get the ball out of his hand or hitting him over and over and over again. And if you're not hitting the quarterback, then you're not gonna beat these great quarterbacks, or you're gonna make it. Your road's gonna be a whole lot harder to get there.
Patrick Mahomes doesn't throw a single touchdown pass today. It's the lowest completion percentage in a regular season game in his entire NFL career, and Chiefs fall to 5-4. It's a frustrating game, and I think. It is, as our friend Ron points out now, like it is a trend in these close games against good teams. The Chiefs are struggling to close the door, and the Chiefs are struggling to put it all together and go out there and win the way that they need to win. And now they've got to figure out a lot of things over this bye week. So I think it's going to be a long bye week for us, Rocky. We're still planning on having plenty to discuss here on Foolish Club Media, so make sure you stay locked in right here. Going to do a lot this week as we try to assess the Kansas City Chiefs over the first 9 weeks of the season and hopefully do our best to see if we can try to find some answers as they go into a bye week and hopefully come out of this thing ready to go on a run, because the schedule doesn't get any easier for the Kansas City Chiefs immediately coming out of the bye. They've got their first matchup with the Denver Broncos, who are atop the division at 7-2 right now. And then it's the Indianapolis Colts, who are still one of the more dangerous offensive teams in the NFL. And then after that, they've got some easily winnable matchups, but still not a ton of cakewalks. So they've certainly got some work to do, Rocky. And hopefully this coaching staff that I think we have more faith in and more confidence in than what we saw from them today, we'll go into the bye and find some answers, and hopefully they will do their best to try to get healthy as they get ready for a matchup against the Denver Broncos here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean they have to, right? That's the whole thing. It's like at this point, this is a high leverage moment for the season. You either come out of the bye week, like fired up and ready to go, and you execute and you go on a run, or you do this whole tit for tat, win a game, lose a game, win a couple games, lose a couple games, and then you find yourself on the outside looking in 6 weeks, right? And so, I mean, it's everything the Chiefs want is right in front of them, but their margin for error has disappeared, right? Like if they want a shot at the Super Bowl this year, if they want a shot at the playoffs this year, then they are in win now mode from here on out. Like if Andy Reid was holding anything back for a vanilla game plan, then shame on him. Because you were in win now mode coming into this game because of your record, right? Yeah. And now you're at the point where you can't say things for the playoffs, or you're not going to win the playoffs.
That's the playoffs. Yeah, that's the difference between years past. They didn't have this cushion that they normally have. Like this game felt like it deserved different treatment than what we got from the Kansas City Chiefs and their coaching staff today. It just simply wasn't good enough, and the Bills dominated, even though winds up only being a 7-point game at the end. If you watch that game from start to finish, you came out of that game saying the Kansas City Chiefs got their asses kicked by the Buffalo Bills all day on Sunday. So it's a frustrating loss. We know that they're capable of more, and we know they can play better, and hopefully they do that coming out of their Week 10 bye. So make sure you follow Rocky Magaña on Twitter. Stay locked in to Foolish Club Media. The trade deadline comes up on Tuesday, so If the Kansas City Chiefs actually find a way to make a move, we'll be all over that for you guys right here. So stay locked in, subscribe, rate, and review. Be on the lookout for all of our regular lineup coming up this week, as we still got a lot to digest and dissect as we head into a Chiefs bye week. So we will talk to you guys then, and hopefully we'll have a little bit more fun next week as we all try to move past this rough loss against the Buffalo Bills. We'll talk to you guys soon.